Welcome back, League fans. Game number 1 between Echo Fox and Cloud9 ended in a very surprising fashion, with Echo Fox closing out after a team fight win at the 28-minute mark.
Just like that.
Yeah, it was just the perfect storm. They won a fight, and they were like, oh, this is a good situation. Well, let's keep pushing. Well, let's keep pushing. And then it was over.
Yeah, super low kill game, but ultimately, like, Echo Fox gets the team fight that is all they need to win. And like, it looked like Cloud9, as they talked about on the analyst desk, did have the potential to have like really strong team fights, but their execution in team fight was really bad, and then the game was over.
That one team fight ended up costing them the game, and it's hard to believe because usually you're like, okay, we lose a team fight at the 40-minute mark, we lose the game, but that was just that unfortunate circumstance. But as you can see on your screen right now, Smoothie has been pulled, and Bunny Fufu is back on the starting roster.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that Bunny pulls out a win here, and then maybe even 2 wins for Cloud9. If you're thinking about this organization, they go to boot camp in Korea, they make these huge roster changes, and then can you imagine they come into the LCS and just lose twice on their first week? Like, that's not exactly what they would have wanted. Whereas Echo Fox will have a chance to go all the way to 2-0. So it's really important, I think, that Bunny comes in here with a calm head, the untilted from the first game because he had nothing to do with it, and maybe he can lead into victory.
Yeah, we'll see if he can. Another addition to the Cloud9 roster, though, is their new coach, Reaper. Now, before we head into game, let's hear from Sneaky on one of the newest members.
Yeah, Reaper's going to be a pretty sweet addition to us as Cloud9. We played a lot with him. Well, I guess we played a lot, and he was coaching us in Korea for, I think it was like 3.5 weeks. He was really helpful. He has a lot of insight into the game. He sees a lot of things that we don't as a team, and I think that's really what the coach's best role is just being there for the end of replay analysis and bringing an insight that maybe you guys didn't see while you were currently playing the game, like bringing more options to you. So he's been a really big help so far.
Yeah, Cloud9 played very decisive for the first part of the game. They definitely knew their strategy, just continuing to try barreling down the mid lane, trying to break Froggen's turret, but they weren't quite able to. Yeah.
Yeah, not even by the end of the game did that mid lane turret fall. So Froggen had huge control over the mid lane. And to just talk about what Sneaky had, yes, you do need the coach to be able to kind of give you after the game tips, but what seems to have been the problem for Cloud9 is they've yet to successfully move on from having high in their lineup. And they've shown glimpses of having good things, like the game they won yesterday against Immortals, or being competitive in that series, but ultimately they're going to need to be able to pick up series wins without his shot calling and be able to operate as a different team. And maybe by changing out the whole team, you kind of remove the players that had a reliance on high being there, but it still hasn't shown very true. And at the very end of that game, you could really just see a lot of miscommunication and lack of cohesion from Cloud9 that ended up being the sub 30-minute loss.
Yeah, and to get to what you were saying a little bit more, Cloud9 really want this win. So far, and this is trying to avoid spoilers as best we can, everyone is either 2-0 or 0-2, except for the end of this series, which will determine where Cloud9 and Echo Fox end up. So getting this pacing early on is huge.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously because of the substitution, Bunny has a little bit longer to warm up, so they run through his checklist as well as setting up. It's a new player on stage, so he brings his own peripherals and all those things. That's what we're currently running through. I'm curious to see just if Cloud9 decides to greatly change their strategy or if they just kind of go for the same thing again, because we look at the way Echo Fox played. They're obviously very comfortable with the top lane Fiora. They even had to go against the Rift Herald buff in that top lane, and KFO was still able to do completely fine against Impact, even though he was up against that for the majority of the game. And then, if we think about the way the game started, Keith took a bunch of harass with a bad level 1, was a level 1 little baby Lucian against a level 3 Sivir in lane, and still managed to win the lane. So, in a lot of ways, Echo Fox controlled that match throughout.
Yeah, they showed they were able to keep pace with this aggression, and sort of something that you mentioned was coming in with Bunny Fufu, providing a fresh perspective. How do they change this up coming into this next game in order to try to get back on top?
Yeah, well, the first thing that they can do is they know that they have a different side of the map, right? So they could easily control the first pick Lucian. I think that's a very important thing if they want to be able to just get the power in the hands of Sneaky and Bunny Fufu. So Bunny Fufu can use some of his great lane mechanics to help Sneaky carry the game. That's obviously if the Lucian isn't banned, but I think that's step one.
And now we are currently waiting on Bunny Fufu to make sure that his peripherals are all set up. You can see the checklist in our ref's hands right there as he runs through, just to make sure we're all good. Camera move speed, make sure your mouse settings are correct, disable acceleration.
Yeah, well, one really cool thing is players can have like preloaded profiles on these games, so they can actually load in fairly quickly. But at the same time, he does need time to warm up, and hopefully we get in the game very soon.
Yeah, we'll be trying to get that happening. Now, to talk a little bit more about Echo Fox, this is their third win in a row where they haven't lost yet. We haven't seen them lose this split. So this is a very strong showing for, I don't want to say the new team, but the team with high expectations.
Yeah, well, they can create the high expectations if they can continue winning.
Yeah.
If you think about the teams that were expected to be have like really high expectations coming into the split, that's your COGs, your Immortals, and your TSMs, right? The people that are consistently in the semifinals of the playoffs. Echo Fox is a team that has never made the playoffs, right? Froggen has experience from the World Championship, but that was several years ago. And a lot of the guys on this team actually just need to prove themselves that they can be taken fully seriously. Like Keith has been a substitute AD carry who's had flashes of brilliance. KFO has been a very young Korean top laner who didn't have the greatest first split, but is getting a lot of English lessons and becoming a better and better communicator. And then you look at their guys like Hard and Big, they're really just getting their feet wet as far as being professional League of Legends players. But if they can continue to win, then they can create some high expectations for the team.
And they are really setting the pace in this game. Against Phoenix yesterday, they played remarkably well, but now they're playing against the fresh Cloud9 and playing at the top of their game. I mean, that win in the previous game was so decisive, so quick, really quite choice. But now we're getting into Champion Select.
I mean, they definitely didn't smash him. We know how that game ended. It ended off of a very one single team fight and bad decisions by Cloud9 down the stretch. So I definitely think this is anyone's game.
Yeah, we'll see how this works out for Cloud9. Again, in Champion Select for game number 2, Swain banned away, along with Fiora taken away from KFO. A little bit of trouble for Impact in that solo, while Azir and Ryze follow.
Yeah, so the thing we were talking about earlier was Lucian as well. The thing is, Kindred needs to be banned if they want to keep that away from Meteos, so I think they just have to do that. Unless they're fine with banning Lucian and giving Kindred through, or just leaving a whole bunch of things up and seeing what they're okay with, because like KFO could play a Maokai. This could be a situation where Echo Fox tries to trade 2 power picks for 1.
We'll see what they decide to go for. The last ban is in fact going to be Kindred. So that's locked in. That leaves Lucian open for Sneaky, but that Vladimir is still on the board as well. So a lot of power picks still flexing. We'll see who goes where as Reaper communicates with his new team, and Meteos kind of thinking about it like, we go for Kindred then? Oh wait, that's also banned.
Yeah, oh man, they banned the 2 junglers like always happens. And here's the interesting thing. I would not like this choice if they go for it. It's something they ended up doing on blue side in their first game against Immortals yesterday, when that had the value of potentially denying Reignover his best champion. But there's so much still up here. I think the Lucian would be a higher priority. Maybe Sneaky is just really comfortable with a matchup against it, but at least to me, I think Meteos would have a big enough champion pool that he can play an Elise or a Gragas into a Rek'Sai and be just fine. Instead, they pick the Rek'Sai and give the Lucian over.
Yeah, so that's Lucian locked in for Keith. KFO doesn't even hesitate. Echo is locked in. Could see that go to Froggen, but seems a little unlikely. It doesn't quite fit his play style of choice, and I'm actually a little interested to see how he's going to end up building them as well, because Huni, he's been doing some wacky things with that.
Yeah, Huni did AP. We've also seen a fair number of tank echoes. Seraph did it with Fervor of Battle if he's looking for some split pushing opportunities. And it's into an expected Maokai. I don't really see a world where Cloud9 doesn't want impact on that champion because it's so powerful currently, and it's one of his favorite champions of all time. But maybe they want to do a big switch up. We'll see if they go with something more aggressive. Nope, there's the Maokai.
Yeah, Maokai locked in. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But Bard going to be locked in for Bunny Fufu. The king of skill shots. Well, not the king. He's probably like the duke of skill shots in the bottom lane.
His Thresh has been super legendary in the past. And Bard is another one of those supports who, I think it was like 6 or 8 months ago, Freak and I were talking and just saying, like, Bard might be the best support in the game. It's just going to take a while for people to master him. Because there is so much stuff you can do with Bard to really take over games, much in the way you used to be able to do with Thresh. I mean, that's still true with Thresh, but Bard just might be a little bit stronger right now. And it's exactly the type of champion that I would like to see Bunny Fufu master, because we've known he's been able to master those kind of fully kitted out supports that can do everything, and Bard can kind of do a little bit of everything, so it's a perfect pick for Bunny Fufu if he's mastered it.
Now it's Echo Fox looking to answer again. That Karma, so very prevalent in the LCS. Well, mostly prevalent. And the Elise going towards hard. Very favorite pick for him.
Yeah, he picked the Gragas last game. Didn't have a huge amount of effectiveness on it, but the Elise obviously can have a little bit earlier of a ganking presence. Also very good if you're chaining it with some other type of CC. So currently that's actually the only reliable form of CC they have. It's going to be a little tricky for him to lock them down, especially if Froggen goes with another type of wave clear champion. But Froggen will have the benefit of the counter pick, as we're about to see what Jensen locks in from it.
It's Bunny Fufu and Sneaky, and Jensen now picking their champions. Victor being looked at by Jensen. Some very strong wave clear, very standard right now. As Sneaky looks to head back towards that Ashe in the bottom.
So big time initiation right there. They prioritized, well, they had to play against Wild Turtle, who prioritized Ashe in 2 of the 3 games yesterday. And also they got to play against the Victor from Pobelter, but Jensen has always been a very good Victor player, and I think that champion is just insane right now in the mid lane as far as his ability to just push in the wave from level 7 onward and then be absolutely nuts in the late game team fights.
And we'll see if Echo Fox can juggle around that Chaos Storm as the game goes later on. As Cloud9 look very comfortable on their composition, it's up to Echo Fox to pick their last champion for their solo mid laner, Froggen. The veteran himself. Nivea is still available. He had some pretty good success despite a lot of pressure from Cloud9. This time he's up against someone with a bit more wave clear than a Vladimir on that Victor. Looks like it is, in fact, going to be Vladimir.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he can stack a lot of early magic resist and maybe try and pressure Jensen off of being in range from farming the wave. I like it that they've gone for this. They also have the chance to put this top lane with KFO and have Froggen still be an Echo in the mid lane. So those are champions they could swap back and forth if they really wanted to.
Yeah, that's what they've currently got swapped, but they still got a few seconds before it is locked down.
Yeah, they have until 20 seconds if they want to swap the champions back. Currently, KFO wouldn't even have teleport. So they could also put Froggen top lane if they actually wanted to with teleport. They can't swap back anymore. It's going to be the mid lane Echo.
Yeah.
But
Echo.
my next question is whether or not they're just going to put KFO mid. Because he has no teleport on that Vladimir.
Yeah, we will see where they end up going as these champions are now locked in and everyone is getting ready to load onto the Rift. Cloud9 looking for revenge and possibly to bring this to a Game 3 as the coaches shake hands. We are getting ready, but make sure to update your Twitter votes. Use hashtag Cloud9Win, C9Win, or hashtag FOXWin. We'll check in with your responses in just a few minutes. And let's see if this game has as explosive an ending as the previous one did.
Yeah, and what kind of tricks does Echo Fox have up their sleeve? KFO with no teleport on Vladimir. Maybe he'll be going into a side lane just because he wants the double move speed summoners. But those are mid lane summoner spells. Like, those are great mid lane summoner spells if you're Vladimir.
Yeah.
Also, just do like Cloud9's team composition. Huge amounts of initiation once again. This time, instead of having move speed that can get trapped up in stuff like Zyra plants, they're just straight up Ash arrows, stuns, and harder versions of crowd control, which could hopefully give them a little bit more reliability. And look at the way they're passing into base. This is KFO being mid lane. I knew it!
Heading towards the top lane, KFO trying to see if he can flex into Jensen's Victor.
The pro team swap. This is when you queue up in dynamic queue and it gives you a role and it's like, I really want to admit, hey man, you care?
Yeah.
You care if we switch? A lot of the time, people will actually be okay with it if you queue for something and just ask nicely and see if they can play the role. And then you just get a lot of teamwork going and good jives coming into the game. But to do it on a professional scale, like to take a guy who's only played professionally as a top laner for KFO and then to throw him mid lane against Jensen, like, that's bold.
Yeah.
That is really bold.
Well, I need to make sure it's still Froggen sitting in that chair. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He's taking fervor for a split push.
Yeah.
On Echo.
You're not allowed to account share in LCS.
Yeah.
You have to play on your own machine. You're not allowed to account share in general.
Oh, yeah.
But also not in the LCS.
Especially not in the LCS. That's what substitutes are for.
This will be
As
cool.
Cloud9 are doing with Bunny Fufu and Smoothie. But Echo Fox send Keith and Big on a late invade. They're going to find Sneaky and Bunny Fufu. The binding, he's going to find some damage, but doesn't quite lock them down. So just a favorable start to the lane.
Yeah, Echo Fox just poking their heads in. They wanted to make sure they could deny the Gromp since they weren't doing a camp start themselves, but not the greatest start to the lane once again. And Ash, at least at level 1, can do pretty decently against Illusion, especially if Big is a little bit too low to get that. And that Bard stun by Bunny is just,
Yeah.
it's a good start to the lane.
There's the Cosmic Binding that we were looking for. Minions are all going to be caught up now as Froggen is splitting in the bottom. That feels so weird to say.
Yeah, back on COG EU, Wicked and Froggen would do this with some champions. Like, if they picked Zed, Wicked would usually play it, and then Froggen would go play something elsewhere. Froggen's no stranger to lane swapping either. I remember one game, they put Crepo mid lane on Anivia and let Froggen play support. That wasn't a meaningful game, though, or a very meaningful game. This one is. It's a clinching game against Cloud9.
Yeah, very confident move from Echo Fox. We'll see if they can make it work, as so far everyone is looking pretty comfortable. And you know, what better champion to put into Jensen's Victor than a Vladimir? Someone who can just, hey, you're going to shove the wave? Perfect, I'll catch it. As Meteos getting a little greedy trying to secure that scuttle crab. And he's going to catch the tunnel. And Hard lets him go.
Yeah, that's both junglers doing their one side clear to scuttle. Sometimes you can catch conflict there. Bunny really on point with his bar stun so far.
Yeah, this is what we were expecting.
This is what we were hoping for
Well,
sure,
yes,
from Bunny Fufu,
hoping.
because he had such great thresh play. If he could get those early stuns on Bard and then just get in the zone, because Bard's one of those champions who, although it seems like just like a lot of practice and practice with the skill shots, like you do have to have so much anticipation, especially with the Bard ultimate, that if you start getting in a rhythm where you're hitting all your skill shots, you can be really devastating.
Yeah. You have to get a feel for the skill shot, your primary target, and the background target. Very tricky champion. So far seems to be doing rather well. Actually roaming down towards the mid lane. KFO is shoved pretty far forward, but he backs off. Nice and safe. Yeah, and despite shoving the lane in the top side, Sneaky and Bunny Fufu aren't able to make anything happen in the mid lane. Head back towards their own tier 1 turret. Froggen continues to trade it out with Impact, spamming spells to bully it out.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to switch Vladimir with Echo so I can better head-to-head these guys.
Yeah.
Protecting the mid lane, they're dead even in CS, and it's a very slight advantage for Impact against the Echo. So I'd say KFO is wave clearing out just like he should, and Froggen, while trying to get a lot of harass in, is actually missing a few CS against Impact.
Here and there, just a couple of minions are missing. But with the recall, opts for the Dark Seal and Doran's Ring. Standard split push Echo. Still not quite seeing. Oh, Sneaky.
Greedy recall right there from Sneaky. He's going to get trapped in lane for a little bit longer. He would have loved to be able to go back and buy with that 1,000 gold, but Keith had already recalled for that double longsword, and now he gets to lane against a Doran's Blade only Ashe for a little while. Nice job by Keith to get that harass off.
Very good presence of mind. Junglers are going to spot each other once again as Meteos and Hard competing over vision. Meteos once again looking for the invades, looking for any advantage he can secure over Hard to try shutting him down. But this time the Wolf Spirit spots him out and scares him away as Jensen shoves in towards the mid lane. KFO with a recall is going to opt for the Spectre's Cowl first, so he's just going to farm it up. While Sneaky and Bunny Fufu continue to try staying afloat with these item deficiencies in the duo lane.
Yeah, they're pushed into a pretty difficult slot in the lane right here just because it's been on Echo Fox's side for so long. It's going to push back shortly, but at least for this next wave, it does give Hard a timing window in which he could get in position. So with his current position, they're probably hoping to get more harass down. Like, that's not a gank you really want to do, but he goes for it anyway.
Walking through the turret, Sneaky takes some damage, but Summoner Heal and Flash gets him out, and Hard is the one who goes low. Froggen dueling it out with Impact and Meteos. A quick level 6 means he can trade back.
Wow. I mean, a very ambitious gank right there. 2 full health duo lanes, and Hard paths through the turret on Elise. So Echo Fox burned 2 flashes for that, and technically they get the Summoner spell advantage because Sneaky used both, and Bunny Fufu also ignited to try and deter farther damage. So technically the gank worked, it just was wholly unexpected.
Yeah, Sneaky is going to try to catch this minion wave as best he can, but Hard is still in the area, healing up off of that just a bit as he tries to look for some more pressure, but Sneaky clears the wave in time and is relatively safe. Finally, he's going to get his recall, but he's forced to miss a few minions.
Yeah, at least at this point now, he's recalled for enough of a BF sword. So previously he probably would have recalled on pickaxe. This time he gets to go into a BF sword, so not a disastrous item timing, it's just the fact that Keith is getting a pretty big edge, and they're getting a ton of turret damage down since Hard has just stayed in that lane for so long. Question will be how much experience Hard gives up as Meteos is eating up the Echo Fox jungle on the other side of the map.
Yeah, they're not quite able to break the turret yet. Sneaky's almost there. Minion wave, I think it just might be able to make it in time. As Hard and Jensen trade off in the mid lane, continuing to farm it up, KFO is like, guys, I can play Vladimir too. That's one of the sorts of situations where you play a champion in ARAM and you're like, I am now a main of this champion.
Well, KFO has always loved to play carry top laners, and Vladimir has been very good in the top lane as well. So it's natural that he'd be able to play the champion very well. It's just he's going to throw it mid lane because Vladimir is just so much more dangerous with 2 combat summoners. With how well he can stay in fights, having to have Flash and Ghost is just better. So as long as he's able to play an equalized lane against Jensen, who at least early game on Victor, the new Victor, I think actually has less lane bullying potential through the first 9 levels than the old Victor would have had. Mainly just a guy who can wave clear and then is a tremendous late game team fighter. So KFO is going to be fine in the lane against Jensen. And then Froggen probably just wants to play Echo. Part of this is just them having fun, I think.
Yeah. Putting out some very interesting compositions and switching it up on us. And even this sort of adds to the complexity of how do you prepare for something like this when a team demonstrates that they can sort of flex. You thought it was tough preparing for 2 supports.
And how do you track all this stuff statistically? I'm sure our guys that are trying to do the auto pulls for like mid lane CS differentials and like all these jungle gravity things that we're trying to do, like you got a special case this game because Froggen is a top laner and KFO is a mid laner for 1 game only.
There is a large asterisk next to this game in every Excel document. Meteos heading towards the top lane. There's still a lot of forward pressure from Echo Fox as they want to break down this tier 1 turret. Bunny Fufu drops the tunnel and the arrow will hit.
Beautiful gank.
He's locked down, forced to flash, but Meteos catches up. Heal was already used. Tempered Fate finds Big. They're going to look for 1 and follow up on the second. First blood for Sneaky as Jensen roams up. Big is going to drop. 2 kills, Cloud9.
So that's the type of trigger they wanted to be able to pull in the first game with the Sivir and the Karma, but this time you could see the actual lockdown of the CC is so much more effective. They land the Ash Arrow on Keith as they come in with Rek'Sai, basically double tunnel, magical journey into a tunnel from Rek'Sai. Incredibly difficult to avoid. Not only do they burn double summoners, they get a double kill.
Yeah, they're going to answer this top tier 1 turret back, and suddenly Cloud9 are in the driver's seat. Feeling very comfortable about that. No answer from teleports on the far side, and Hard is trying to make it worth as he's looking for the Infernal Drake. And in fact, Keith is on his way to help him out, so they should be able to secure it.
Yeah, they'll be able to get this one. Meteos would have a tunnel up that he'd go to, but they just don't have the members to go for that. They're trading the double kill in the top lane and the turret for this dragon. This is much more favorable than what ended up happening in the first game where they just traded turrets and Echo Fox also got the dragon. Here they get 2 kills in a turret, inexpensive, leaving the dragon unoccupied for a little while.
Yeah, so temporary advantage for Cloud9. We'll see if they can turn this into something a little bit bigger over the course of this match. And here's that play once again. Meteos so patient.
Yep, just waits for the Bard, goes straight in, stun onto Keith. Big did get the root onto Meteos, which buys time for a little while. And I love the ultimate from Bunny Fufu there onto Big to just give time for them to finish off the kill onto Keith and not let Big run away while that was happening. Jensen had also been able to roam up against KFO, and maybe he goes for a little bit of burst here. He is without ultimate though, so KFO can sustain a bit.
Yeah, just heals it right back up. And as you'll notice, we did just swap KFO and Froggen on the items.
Hey, now we can do
pane.
direct comparisons. KFO's been doing fine as far as CS goes, but we do have to remember Jensen did spend some time roaming. So Jensen, I would say, is overall winning that lane presence-wise because he spent the time to roam and is still even to slightly up on CS.
Yeah, some very large wave clear. Makes Jensen Victor a very difficult champion to lane against as he continues to pressure into this turret. Cloud9 send their duo towards the bottom. In fact, Keith and Big stay towards the top side of the map. Perhaps going to be looking for that Rift Herald for an advantage, but Cloud9 are going to answer back with some pressure of their own as 12 minutes in, we're back into the vision game.
Because the Dragon was taken, Keith doesn't necessarily need to be in the bottom lane, but it is very important for Echo Fox that they find a safe place for him to farm. The threat of the Ash Arrow, before anyone can build a QSS or have a Mikhail's on the Karma, is when it's at its highest point in the game. And Sneaky is 1 for 1 so far, so Keith and the rest of Echo Fox have to be very vigilant about where Sneaky is standing and when that Ash Arrow could be coming in.
Oh,
there's
teleport
play.
They've got Keith. There's the binding arrow. Will miss, but here comes the rest of Cloud9. Remember, he doesn't have any flash. Gets knocked up. He's going to end up going down to Sneaky, and Big is going to follow. Even the recall from Jensen as he picks up another kill. It's 4-0 for Cloud9.
So nowhere is currently safe for Keith, but he was also in a really poor position right there, walking through the river instead of just walking safely through the lane or jungle. But the teleport came in from Impact. Like, these are just piles of players that they're trying to throw onto Echo Fox. I think the arrow actually would have missed, but Bunny Fufu ends up catching him with the Bard ultimate. That gives time for Meteos to arrive, as well as Impact's teleport to finish channeling. And Big was kind of going down to help out Keith, but the teleport had been going in behind him. All those wards had also been able to put before the play happened by Meteos. So the Sightstone paying off early for Meteos this time. This game he has gone Sightstone before completing his Cinderhulk, and they're using it to pull off some TP plays. So a lot of game-by-game adaptations by Cloud9 to make this much more well-executed in the first 15 minutes.
And this is what we expected from the more flexible Smoothie versus Bunny Fufu and their new coach. So already seeing adaptations bodes well, as Echo Fox did secure the Rift Herald. Trying to see who that ended up going on to. I think that's Froggen who ended up getting that Rift Herald.
Yeah, I mean, it's a top laner or jungler buff, typically.
Yeah.
Froggen is the one that has it. He's going to be split pushing against Impact. Hopefully gives him an advantage throughout all of this.
Yeah, that glimpse of the Void stacking up. So he's going to have that until the 34-minute mark.
Since they picked it up at 14 minutes, it is a 20-minute duration. Although the item breakpoints are favored in Cloud9's favor at the moment, and the 4,000 gold lead is not to be ignored, even if Echo Fox does have an Infernal break. So much more control this game than last for Cloud9.
Some harass from Keith and Big as they're trying to answer back the kills that they lost. And once again, Jensen playing towards that duo lane in the bottom. Impact, in fact, was heading down there, and now he's going to swing back up and catch the wave. Froggen is shoving on the opposite side, but that next dragon's up in 90 seconds. That's going to be an Earth Dragon. Very high priority. So far, the vision is split, so duo lane's going to stay there. Teleport available for Froggen, but there's action as Big finds a snare.
Oh, nice stun.
Bunny
They're going to turn it.
Locks down Big. Meteos has to get out. Cocoon is going to find him. They're under the turret. They're diving it. Froggen's coming in. Hard can reset with the repel. And in fact, it's Big taking the turret. He goes down. Meteos gets it. Misplay from Echo Fox. They're not even able to get Sneaky just yet. Finally, he drops, but Froggen drops back in. He's still got turret aggro. He goes down. Triple kill to Meteos and 4 kills for Cloud9.
Yeah, everyone just runs under the Cloud9 bot lane turret to dive, and that play just reeks of desperation for Echo Fox right there. They had been losing and losing to Ash Arrow, so they try and preempt the gank from Cloud9, but they do not have the setup or the reliable crowd control to do so, and 4 people just run to their death, essentially, and a bunch more kills picked up for Cloud9.
Yeah, that's a lot of momentum. They've got complete control over vision. A couple of double wards just in case Sweeper comes along to make sure they have control over that pit. Here that play is once again.
Exactly. So Hard is in the brush, but like they haven't even spent the time to burn the summoners before for Cloud9. They flash just to get a flash, and then the double stun comes around and Meteos is there. Like, this is when you should call it off. You tried your gank, it didn't work, back away. But they burn the teleport in from Froggen. He thinks they can go. Great CC chain there by Cloud9 to catch Big under the turret. They blow up the duo lane yet again. Sneaky does go down at the end of it, but by that time, Jensen's able to come down, and Impact didn't even have to burn his teleport right there. So the Ash Arrow will be back up very shortly. A teleport will be up until Impact. And again, Cloud9 could actually do a proactive initiation, even though they were great at playing reactively to Echo Fox. They have all the options right now.
All the cards in their hand. In fact, they now have control over that Dragon Pit. Shoving out in the bottom lane means they might be looking towards that objective as Impact was headed towards that side of the map. Froggen will pull him back by shoving the way, but again, Froggen has no teleport. Meteos, you got the ward down, but not quite sure that's what you wanted. I think he wanted it to stay a little bit longer. Drops even another ward.
He found him.
It's a trail of breadcrumbs.
He now knows where the pink ward is. He's just playing with a lot of confidence right now after that triple kill.
Arrow goes wide. Echo Fox competing with the vision as best they can. Froggen dueling with Impact. Here comes Jensen to catch up. Gotta try to burst him down. There he goes. Drops the chrono break nice and quick. And there's a flash from Impact. He chases over. KFO can't make up his mind. Froggen running for his life, and he's deep in enemy territory now. Cloud9 can't make up their minds either. There goes a... Ooh. Buffered. Repel for hard. Gets him out. No kills, but that was close.
Yeah. Froggen gets out as well, but this leaves the Dragon undefended. And Cloud9 has everyone in range to do it. So this little lane swap trick for Echo Fox hasn't been working out too well, but surprisingly, they swapped the solo lanes. Those guys are doing mostly fine. It's their duo lane that's getting massacred by the initiation from Cloud9.
And, you know, we've spent so much time talking about how strategies will change up if they bring in a different support player. We haven't even talked about the obvious. It's a different support. The lane's going to do differently.
Yeah. Bard, much different than Karma in the way he plays, and Bunny Fufu has been really on point with it. The one miscommunication when they threw the Ash Arrow through the Bard ult, but now Froggen trying to make another play.
Yeah, he's got no chrono break, and Sneaky's been allowed to just fire shot after shot. Flash! Oh my gosh, he's still alive. There's Jensen. The laser is going to miss. Froggen is being escorted out of there. There's the arrow. Sneaky finally finds it.
Oh, and they got the angle on him.
Cloud9 are continuing to chase. KFO drops the Sanguine Pool, but Impact forces the flash by zoning him forward.
Yeah, I really love what Cloud9 is doing this game. Instead of having the move speed of the Sivir and the Karma, they're using the Bard tunnels to still position around the map in a very quick fashion. Really taking full control of this game against Echo Fox.
Now the mid-tier 1 is going to drop. Cloud9 are 5,000 gold ahead. 9 kills to 1. And 3 turrets to 1 after that. And as you mentioned, Cloud9, so very confident.
Yeah, looking to make this a 3-game series for sure. Only 19.5 minutes into the game. Plenty of league to play yet, but the type of composition that Echo Fox has isn't the best suited for turtling out, especially when you consider how many tools Cloud9 have to initiate straight onto them. They do not have the mid lane wave control from last game when they'd had Froggen on Anivia, or the hyper carry fear of a split pushing Fiora. Instead, they just have a tank Echo who's really being matched by another tank Maokai, and then a Vladimir who has been neutralized at least quite easily by Jensen's Victor, who's now hitting some pretty powerful item breakpoints.
Yeah, things looking very good for Cloud9. They might become the 3-game series. Three series. You know what I'm saying.
They might become the what?
The team that takes it to 3 series every time.
3 games?
Yes.
The
3
team
games,
that
not
goes
series.
3 games all
in
the
every
time.
Yes. Wow.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
There's
We're gonna
best
find
of
out.
3 threes.
Yes. Okay, that was hard. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, well, Cloud9's crushing at this game, that's for sure. They're going to continue to try and set up plays everywhere they can, and either Bard ult or Ash Arrow is going to be the one to lead, generally, for these fights.
Yeah, and to sort of tie that in fact, best of 3s really benefit this team because they can start out with either support, and whichever one works, they stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, mid-series substitutions, if one guy's not feeling it on the day, put in the next one. Both times they've done a substitution, it's immediately been followed by a victory. That just means they have to sub every single game. So Bunny did great. Sorry, man. Putting Smoothie back in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to quite work that way. I think they'll keep Bunny in after his performance this game.
Yeah, currently 100% kill participation along with Meteos, who's been teaming up with Sneaky and Bunny Fufu, the 3-man roaming squad, looking for someone I think Ward is finally going to spot out the vision that big had dropped previously, as everyone continues to farm it up. So a bit of early action and everything starts to slow down a bit. Cloud9 trying to assert their dominance on the map, and Echo Fox playing appropriately, playing back, trying to get themselves back to even with Cloud9.
It is just 5,000 gold, and Echo Fox was able to pick up the Infernal Drake at the very start of the game. So all hope is definitely not lost. I mean, we've seen much larger deficits we come back from. They still have the potential of a very late game Vladimir, but the scaling of Cloud9 is also quite respectable, which makes this a pretty daunting task for Echo Fox. Nice dash there by Keith before the arrow.
Arrow down the mid lane. 4 members of Cloud9 were setting up for a dive, but with the arrow missing, that's going to be the no signal instead of the go signal. And everybody goes back to catching their minions. Impact in the mid lane currently going to have to head top to catch up with Froggen, who's been split pushing all the while with that Glimpse of the Void buff. He's still got about 10 minutes left on that, maybe 11.
Yeah. That thing lasts forever. That's
20 minutes.
That's the most underrated part of the buff, because you'll think you get it and you won't necessarily feel like it's doing that much for you, but it's just straight up damage reduction for 20 minutes, as well as giving you more damage in solo situations. So Froggen's real happy to have that, but he hasn't really been able to do much with it. Impact hasn't been fearful. He wouldn't been in danger of dying to a Maokai anyway on the Echo. So, like we said, this lane swap has been so-so.
Yeah.
Nothing great. Hasn't been a disaster.
Well, we've still got a lot of game left. As you mentioned, a lot of League to play through. Until the Nexus drops, it's not over. Blue buff once again. Let's see if he gives us a little dance on his way back.
Yeah, instead, he'd rather pick up these minions in the mid lane. Give him a quick little gander. And now he's going to go for it.
Yeah. Meteos currently tanking it, so no way we're going to get dance from Blue this time. Sorry, guys. And everyone's just taking their time, continuing to work towards those item breakpoints and spiking harder than the other team can. Now, Dragon's going to spawn in about 30 seconds. This is another Earth Dragon. Cloud9 would love to have that.
Yeah, and Jensen's reaching that point in the game where Victor can be such a monster in team fights. Triple upgrade on his Hex Core. Gives the extra move speed on his ultimate, which, as we've mentioned plenty of times, was changed to do pulsing damage. The burst isn't nearly the same, but then every 2 seconds, it basically bursts you. Every 2 and it will stick because it's moving faster thanks to the upgraded Hex Core. Rylai's may be Jensen's next item if he wants to really make sure, or if he just wants to blow people up, go for a death cap or a lose. Either way, Cloud9, because they're big gold beat map control, get to take this dragon in.
Echo Fox not even going to try. Don't want to take any chances and give up more than they need to. Dragon is secured. Number 2 for Cloud9. And everyone returns back towards their safe positions, continuing to fight over vision. Cloud9 quite intelligently recognizing they don't have vision of the Baron Pit.
Yeah, making sure Fox can't rush it.
Yeah.
Although Cloud9 would have the ability to 2-man Baron or to 3-man Baron because of the double Mountain Drakes. 20% true mitigation, pre-mitigation true damage will basically force Echo Fox to either concede it or really run in headfirst for a fight. I think that's where eventually Cloud9 is going to attempt to win the game, is around the Baron Pit, probably with picks rather than just a Baron Rush.
Echo Fox trying to prevent that from happening and reclaiming vision on their own. With that dragon just going down, no other neutral objectives. All they have to do is maintain vision and prevent that from happening, and they'll be safe. Impact.
Catch them with a stun.
Eats a stun and heals it right back up.
Yeah. That'll do it. I don't really feel like Froggen's got a way to kill him. Still doesn't even have his Iceborne, so even if Impact wants to run away, he's going to be able to run pretty easily.
Once again, Cloud9 not taking any chances. As a mobile unit, they contest the vision, not sending in any single person, not letting a support overextend and die face-checking. Continuing to play this vision game safely so that they don't get caught out, while Impact and Froggen split off on the far side. They both have teleport, so if anything were to happen, they would be able to join up, but it seems like for now they're content not to.
Yeah, Execution's Calling being completed on Siki. That's exactly what they need against KFO's Vladimir. But Yeah, like we were talking about, this Baron is what is going to hopefully draw Echo Fox out from their base. And even though Cloud9 can kill it quickly, I think the threat of them killing it quickly is what Cloud9 will want to use to land the right initiative.
Yeah, it's 4v4 in the mid lane, but nothing's quite happening. Again, Impact and Froggen are going toe-to-toe, but nothing's going to come of it. The red buff is secured. Minios actually drops the Chilling Smite. He does have another charge of his Smite stacked up, so it'll be up in about 7 seconds, so no concern there. In fact, they were buying time for the top minion wave and to crash into the tier 2, and with all this vision, they're able to get some damage on it, but a culling clears out the wave. And Cloud9 back away.
Yeah, I really want to see more decisiveness for Cloud9 right now. They have had such a big lead. It was 6,000 a little while ago, but it's shrunk to 5,000, and they have the 2 Mountain Drakes, so they should be doing the Baron or forcing it right now. And it's taking them a little bit too long to do this play. Impact is now waiting in base, and instead of rotating mid lane, Cloud9 should be going immediately to Baron and just doing it. They know Froggen is low. He couldn't have made it to the Baron pit quickly, and they could have rushed it down. They'd also just pushed hard back in base and have wards in the jungle. Like, that was a Baron that Cloud9 put the prep work into, but just decided not to do, and they're not utilizing their Drakes.
Yeah, some hesitation showing from Cloud9 as they're taking their time with this match, rather than trying to force anything from happening. And again, the vision gets cleared out for Echo Fox on their own side of the jungle as they try to reestablish the ward line.
Yeah, we say they're taking their time, but they're actually just losing their lead. If they're not going to utilize having double Mountain Drakes, then what's the point of getting the Drake in the first place? Echo Fox was down 6,000 to 7,000 gold. Now they're down 3,500 gold. And as the game goes later, the stats they gain from Infernal Drake are actually equalizing the gold lead. So we have this 9 kill to 1 Drake game where Cloud9 should be up in Dragons and should be reaping the rewards from all their kills. But if Echo Fox gets a 5v5 team fight, they might win it.
Yeah, balanced in items once again, very close. BOC is going to try trading with Hard a bit, but just bullies him away as he drops another ward on his own. Bunny Fufu's continuing to sweep out ward after ward. Looks like it is going to be the Rylai's picked up for Jensen as he's now grouped up with the rest of his team. They've got vision of the pit right now. Impact once again recalling, sitting in base. This is the Baron play.
And they can kill this so quickly that they need to eat. And they actually don't even have the deep wards for Impact to teleport in on right now, but they're going for a fight. This is the 5v5. Impact's behind. Here we go.
Oh, Arrow finds Big, separating him. Oh, the Tempered Fate will reset onto Keith. He's chased up and locked down. He will go down. No, he flashes on the far side. Impact is in the front as it's Chaos. Meteos trying to get some action, but he's so low, forced to back out of the fight. Impact finally going to slay Keith as Sneaky has been untouched. It was a 5v5 as everyone teleported in, but oh, Jensen is going off. He finds a kill on the far side. It's 5v3 right now.
And they were able to catch Keith, and the amount of CC chain that Bunny Fufu put down onto him was absolutely massive. This is the play they've needed to make for quite a while, and they can most likely get the Baron after this one, but Hard is still sticking around. Froggen and KFO aren't willing to give up on the play.
Now, Hard has his smite. Froggen is low and is forced to back out. Sneaky might be able to chase these kills down on that sticky Ash. Oh, KFO already used his pool.
Yeah,
might end up going down. Yeah, he's finally going to drop the rest of Cloud9 in the back of Baron. Bunny Fufu is able to get a kill onto Hard by baiting him out. Oh, man. Bunny Fufu did end up going down, but that's Baron going over to Cloud9 and trade for 1 death.
Yeah, and then maybe they can finally use that Baron buff to crack some more turrets, because despite holding a large map pressure advantage for the past 10 minutes, they've only taken down the far outer ring of turrets. Because of the deaths, though, they can probably rotate to get this Infernal Drake, which is very important, so they can kind of minimize the bonuses that Echo Fox will have been getting, and Big just where he should not be.
Yeah, trying to drop some wards. That's the solo warding mission. The arrow, oh gosh. Narrowly misses, but Big is able to get out, and that is an Infernal Drake that has spawned. Yes, Echo Fox have got vision, but the best it's going to do for them is let them watch as this dragon goes over to a Baroned up Cloud9.
Yeah, so they are able to extend their advantage now. Very important stats to pick up 31 minutes into the game. Can't quite get the blue buff from that invade, but still, like, not a fully won game yet for Cloud9. They have a lot of good items right now. Jensen is extremely powerful, and Echo Fox hasn't shown any propensity for beating them in team fights, but the gold is still pretty close, and you always have to respect Vladimir. Echo Fox just not in position for the right type of fight right now, and their turrets are melting.
Yeah, that double Earth Dragon so strong. The inhibitor is broken with no contest from Echo Fox, and immediately Cloud9 is 5. Swing towards the top lane, looking for their next objective. Meteos surely going to apply pressure on another side of the map with that Abyssal Voyage.
Yeah, he's just coming straight back.
Oh no, he's actually going straight back.
Yeah, exactly, because they want to keep grouped as 5 and just use this Baron buff as well as double Mountain Drake to just kill the turrets very quickly, and they know that Froggen doesn't have teleport right now, so a flank is really difficult to set up. Echo Fox is going to try and force a bit, though.
Yeah, Froggen will tag Meteos, but the full tank build paying off as he takes barely any damage. 20 Fufu is in the front, trying to zone away while the rest of Cloud9 destroy the tier 2 so quickly. They now collapse onto Froggen. Jensen will catch up with a laser. They've left Sneaky all alone, but he's totally fine with it as KFO tries to go for a flank. And Impact and Meteos are diving so deep. Cloud9 are not going to be stopped. They get a kill onto Froggen, but this is not the end of the push.
Yeah, this is more like it for Cloud9. They still have 5 people alive. They've killed Froggen. They have the Baron up still, and they catch Keith again.
Yeah, an arrow onto Keith. He is destroyed. Flash from Sneaky. Doesn't even need that turret aggro. That's going to be another kill onto KFO. And that's still 4 members of Cloud9 shoving forward with Baron buff, with a large minion wave. They're going to take this inhibitor. Let's see if they decide to continue pushing forward. They are going to. It's up to Big and Hard to keep themselves in this game. They are not going to, and Cloud9 are on the Nexus turret. They're on the Nexus itself. They're going to take us to a Game 3 against Echo Fox.
Yeah, and overall, very well played by Cloud9, especially from the duo lane and Meteos. The way that they worked around that lane and completely took Keith and Big out of it. There's that curveball. Sometimes you can get a little flustered if you're like, man, why is KFO going mid lane? Why is Froggen going top? But Cloud9 is just like, we don't care. The champions are exactly the same. We're just going to play this like we would a normal matchup. Let's camp bottom lane like our team composition says we should. And even though I think it took them a little bit longer than it should have to utilize the double Mountain Drakes to secure the Baron, they ultimately did that. And then once they had that buff, they just steamrolled through the rest of Echo Fox for what ended up being a relatively quick game, 33 minutes, 20 seconds.
Yeah, it seems like we're seeing the 2 different sides of Cloud9. When they get those fights, they look so strong. When they're in their comfort zone, they look so very confident, but they sort of floundered during the mid game. Like, yeah, we've got an advantage. Well, what do we do?
Right, and this is where Cloud9 will need to clean up their play as the season progresses, and this has always been what people don't like about Cloud9 when you don't have High, because High would just make these crazy, aggressive, reckless plays, and Cloud9 is trying to be like, well, we don't want to be super reckless and dumb, let's be a little bit calculated, but at the same time, I think that makes them miss out on some opportunities. Even so, they only died 3 times, so you can't really fault them, and now they get to force game 3.
Oh, yeah, we are going to game 3, but for more on that match, let's head over to the analyst desk to break that down.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. First victory for Cloud9 in this series, bringing it to 1-1 night. Not quite as quick as the first game, but still rather calculated by Cloud9.
That's a word for it.
Before we dive into exactly, Before we dive into exactly how they came away with the victory, I want to approach first the role swap that we saw out of Echo Fox, taking KFO on that Vladimir and throwing him mid and saying, Froggen, you go take the Echo top lane.
Yeah, I think role swaps are something that's not done in League of Legends very often for a good reason. People don't struggle with playing the champions. They play most of the champions through solo queue. They don't struggle with the laning phase. Most of the matchups they're pretty well aware of, and they can do fine in them, especially if it's like a matchup that we saw here. Vlad versus Victor's like a farm lane, Echo versus Maokai tank. Like it's not gonna like go too crazy, but you do mess up the intricacies in the team situations, like warding, like how to exactly play a lane swap. When do you TP? Because this is something that we see people who play mid all day, every day, not do well, and top laners not do well. And so when you swap them, they're not going to execute on the level that you really need to. And we kind of saw that throughout this game, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, 12 minutes, 30 seconds into the game, which is going to be our only replay for this one. Cloud9 picking up 2 kills. And kind of due to a lack of vision on the side of Echo Fox, Keith here wandering through without any vision, and this is just because, with Froggen had been down on that bottom side prior, the ward coverage is not established.
Yeah, this is one of the things that you kind of need to look out for. They were going through River. They had just cleared out a pink ward, but you see how many green wards there are around that mid lane for almost the entire game. I know Meteos has a Sightstone versus the Tracker's Knife, but a lot of mids are actually not very good about using their trinkets. We saw earlier in the day Keen died once from a situation where it was a 2v1 and he just greeted out his trinket usage. And I think that that's the case where you put someone who's not a mid laner and ask them to contribute to vision control, they're not going to quite get it. They're not going to have synergy with their jungler. And I think you saw a lot of really just gaps in the vision for Echo Fox.
Yeah, Echo Fox on your screen there. They're probably talking about that role swap.
Cop's a little mad scientist sometimes. We saw it with Gravity, some crazy picks. So
yeah, there's probably a fair amount of discussion about was it successful in what areas was it successful and in what areas wasn't it. That being said, I have to imagine that moving forward, if they can become more proficient at the role swap, that can be a weapon in their arsenal that they use later down the line. We'll see.
Right.
Now let's dive into Cloud9 in this one because they had an early gank top lane, netted 2 kills. That replay we just saw picked up 2 more, and then a botched dive by Echo Fox was turned around for a 4-for-1, which put them at a pretty large lead. And then the pace of the game just completely stalled out.
Right, I think C9 showed that they have a lot of good plans. When they have this Ashe, that's something that Sneaky's always excelled on. They coordinated well with the Bard. They got a lot of pickoffs. But then once Echo Fox realized we're losing this game, let's pull back, let's slow down, it really seemed like C9 struggled to get anything going. They had the outers up almost the entire game. And you think when you have that much engage,
right,
you just need to push up 2 waves and rotate over, and you should be able to pick somebody, dive, or just take the turret.
Yeah, looking at these comps here on your screen right now, you've got an Ashe Arrow for engage, you've got a Bard ultimate, you've got a Rek'Sai who can tunnel behind, and of course, the Maokai.
Yeah.
The easiest of all engaged tools is your Maokai, and it did definitely feel like with that 4, 5, 6K gold lead that they had around that mid game, they were a trigger shy.
Right.
We didn't see a single inner turret go down until after they secured that Baron. So don't know how much of that is a product of, we want to play this more calculated and slow because of the fact that we're constantly swapping players in and out, and the communication and maybe even the trust isn't quite there, having to have had split time between different people on the roster.
The other potential thing too is that they had 2 Earth Dragons and they were winning the game, so it's not like they need to necessarily throw themselves at the we're on a clock. They scaled fine, their comp was fine, and I think that their decision to play it slow wasn't necessarily wrong. It just is something that you see teams like IMT and some of the more dominant teams smash a game once they have a lead like that.
Cloud9 on your screen here. In the midst of all of this, Bunny Fufu is going to snag our player of the game honors. You see him there on your screen, subbing in too. That's the big thing we have to remind everyone of, is the fact that him and Smoothie are bouncing back and forth, and here he steps in 1 and 13 on that Bard, had some great ultimates, is supplying some of the shot calling for the team, and definitely one of the leaders that brought these guys to victory here.
Yeah, and that turnaround kill on that dive, it all started with the Bard double stun and then into the ultimate, and from there he really kicked off a lot of plays on his own with even the tunnel on the first dive, or first couple kills.
Yeah, the casters rather spoke a lot about the Bard tunnels into the Rek'Sai tunnels. It's just a crazy amount of mobility that they had to be able to roam around the map and kind of create those picks and open things up for the entire team. So for him, that'll be a nice little confidence boost moving into Game 3. We'll see if he can continue to be a leader and put up a performance like that on Bard, because yesterday I think his Bard performance was a little lackluster, missing a few of those crucial cosmic bindings and his ultimates not being quite as on point. Today, though, mechanically matching where we would expect him to be based on his ability to play the likes of Thresh and those kinds of champions.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, and I would like to ask C9 about this, is how much is it that you just kind of swap players around almost every day and just to give them all equal chances? Because they said, I think I heard that they're splitting 50% scrim time. It would make sense maybe that you get 1 game and then we swap, and because they've done that, and then they just go with who they think is looking better on the 3rd game, unless someone stands out incredibly the 1st game, which I think Smoothie played fine, but not a standout player, and so you can always just swap after a single game, even in a win maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like they will be sticking with the roster for Game 3. Cloud9 have extended it 1-1 in the series. We're headed toward a broadcast cooldown, but stick around because Game 3 of Echo Fox versus Cloud9 is coming up right after the break. You're watching the NALCS.
And let's see if this game has as explosive an ending as the previous one.
Yeah, and what kind of tricks does Echo Fox have up their sleeve?
They're going to look for one and follow up on the second. First blood for Sneaky as Jensen roams up. Big is going to drop. Misplay from Echo Fox. They're not even able to get Sneaky just yet. Finally, he drops, but Froggen drops back in. He's still got turret aggro. He goes down.
They catch Keith again.
Yeah, an arrow onto Keith. He is destroyed. Flash from Sneaky. Doesn't even need that turret aggro. That's going to be another kill onto KFO.
And overall, very well played by Cloud9, especially from the duo lane.